Hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space and some sympathy cards using a sort of oldie but goodie die set from Altenew. I've had a lot of requests to make cards with this die set. I bought this a few months ago. This is the Calla Lily die set that they released. I think it was very early this year. I'm not sure, but I had purchased it. It's been sitting here. Finally got a chance to use it. And main reason being featuring Altenew has now released Cardstock. I already did a video kind of showing the cardstock and using it. I will link to that video in the end screen at the end of this video if you missed it. And today I'm participating in a Instagram hop to give more like ideas and inspiration and all the things. So I will, as always, have a link to my Instagram in the description box below the video so you can check it out, participate, hop along, all the fun things. And yeah, I also will have links, of course, to everything I used. Those will be listed and linked in the description box below the video. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links, end up placing an order, I get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. It's what helps pay the bills, keeps the channel going, etc. And yeah, let's get into making these cards. So just like I mentioned in the previous video I did using these new cardstocks, they're 8.5 by 11 packs, 10 sheets in a pack, and they are 80-pound weight. And for me, I don't like 80-pound for like card bases, but I'm really liking this weight because of like specifically what I'm going to use today again, layering die sets. Because I've been noticing lately with some of my thicker cardstocks when I'm using like a layering die set, it starts making the card really bulky, which isn't the end of the world, but sometimes I honestly just get annoyed by it. So I've been really enjoying these cardstocks. And then the other big bonus to this is they are in Altenew colors, which Altenew has a lot of colors. I'm going to be very interested and curious to see if they do end up releasing cardstock for every color because hoo boy. So anyway, right now I have the cardstocks and I keep them in the packaging. Couldn't see it when I showed it really well, but I just slice the long side, like one end of the packaging, and I'm keeping the scraps in the packaging. And for now, that's working for me. I just keep it on a shelf. That's how I used to always store a lot of my cardstock, is just in the packaging it came in. Like why reinvent the wheel? It works. So I did all my die cutting off screen using the Craft a Flower Calla Lily layering die set. And I've shown this in other videos, but this time I'm able to kind of show it a bit more because I usually do this with white cardstock, which is kind of hard to show in video. But when I have a layering die set, even though there'll be a layering guide, etc., that always helps. I am very visual. I need to see it, and I'm by like really seeing it. So I take all my die pieces after I've die cut them, and you just saw me, and I'll keep doing this, is I put them all together just in my hands. I'm not using any adhesive, anything, just so that I can literally see how it all comes together. And that's just what my brain needs. And it's like, okay, I get it. This one always threw me for a loop. And when I actually adhere it, that one like last little piece on that Calla Lily, I'm like, my brain was not working. But that helps me, especially when I want to do things like I'm going to do now, which is to add ink blending. So it's like, okay, all these pieces like go in this direction. So this is where I want to add the ink, that sort of a thing. And that's all I need. I find with any layering die set, just kind of stacking the pieces together or just outright like assembling them. Once you've done it once, or at least for me, that's all I need. Then it's like, okay, I get it. I get what this wonky piece is. Because, with a lot of layering die sets and even looking at some of these, just looking at all these random pieces, it's like, what is this? What is this? What is this supposed to be? And then once you see it all, come together, it's like, oh, okay, makes perfect sense. And then, of course, again, with the Altenew layering die sets, they have the whole keyhole system, which I've talked about this before too. When they first introduced it, I remember seeing like other like makers videos, things like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, same thing. You know, my brain wasn't fully like grasping it. And then once I started working with it, I was like, oh, this makes sense. So all these different florals, basically, because there's 4 different florals in the set, have different shaped keyholes. And they're already organized that way on the dies themselves. So it's all the thinking has been done. Everything's been thought out. Makes life easier. And then assembling them, you just layer them right up. And there's also, it's hard to see on film, but in real life, there's debossing as well, like the details. You can see the lines, but it also will deboss numbers. So it literally 1, 2, 3, 4, like however many layers there are. And that's all you do. So start with layer 1, add the second layer, the third, the fourth, etc. And they're just, I love it. I love it. I already have enough time, you know, to figure out layouts and colors and all the different things. And I'm like, the less I have to think some days, I'm all for it, you know? So after I did ink blending, and I pulled out the same combos for the florals as the cardstock. So for the yellows, I was using, you know, Buttercream and Warm Sunshine and Caramel Toffee. And then for the pink cardstocks, I was using Blush, Rouge, and Crimson. But I kind of mixed and matched with the inks. See, this is where I was having trouble with this one piece. It was just eluding me. My brain was struggling. And then it was like, oh, there we go. There we go. Figured it out. So I did some Googling because I really do like calla lilies, but it's another thing. I'm a visual person because I get asked that a lot too, like color combos. Honestly, I will Google, especially florals. I'll put, you know, rose or in this case, calla lily, and just pop up images and so much color inspiration, so many ideas. And a lot of times too, I'm like, oh, I did not know like this certain flower had like this many color combinations. So that's what I took some inspiration from to give me some different like kind of color combos. And then for the greenery, I used a different green ink combo than the cardstock, because I actually don't have the greens that match these cardstocks, because I used, this is Parrot and Olive cardstocks. And then I also ended up using bamboo. And I don't have those green inks yet. So I used matcha tea and swamp green, which I love. They're a little more muted. And then for this combo, I had already started blending and I had forgot to press record, but I used Rouge and Crimson inks, as well as I think I'd started with the Buttercream. And then for this one, and that was on the Warm Sunshine cardstock. And then this one I used Blush cardstock. I started with Blush and then I went in with the other colors that I showed on the screen. And the thing to remember, of course, and this kind of applies to any brand, if you're using the exact same color of ink as the cardstock, depending on what you're doing, let it dry. You know, if you're blending or if you're stamping, the same color ink on the same color cardstock, because when it's still wet, you know, you've got a tone on tone look. It looks great, but don't forget that the ink needs to dry. And when they're dye-based inks, more often than not, if it's the same color ink with the same color cardstock, like right now, I'm using Rouge ink on Rouge cardstock. Like, it looks pretty. Love it. This is going to dry back to the point where you can't even see it. I just started with this as kind of my base. And while the ink is still wet, I'm adding in these other colors. So that's what I mean by like letting that ink dry. If you're not going to be adding anything darker, like you just kind of want to, you know, almost like a watermark effect or a tone on tone effect, that how it looks when it's wet might not show up at all when the ink is dry. So depending on what you're doing, let the ink dry. Hopefully that makes sense. So I did all my blending on all these different little calla lilies, assembled all of them, and then attached stems to some of them off camera because I had enough, because I die cut a bunch, because once I got started, I couldn't stop. I figured out like a floral cluster on one card and then just decided to mimic that on the other. In the end, I ended up making 3 cards with all these die cuts. So I had my florals and their stems and their leaves, and then extras, of course, for the inside. And on the insides, I'm going to stamp sentiments from the Treasured Memory stamp set that comes in one of the Craft Your Life project kits. I did a video using this kit when it was released. It was a couple months ago. I'll have a link to it in the end screen as well. Really like these sentiments. And so I'm going to stamp different sentiments from that stamp set onto the insides of these cards with Altenew's Obsidian pigment ink. And my card bases are just top folding A2 white note cards. So I stamp the sentiments, and then I would adhere one of the just individual calla lilies and a stem and one of the leaves. And I repeat that process on the other two cards. I just use different sentiments. And then, like I had said earlier, I had figured out a floral like cluster off camera. And then now I'm just kind of repeating it, but I just mixed up like different colors of these calla lilies. So I had like kind of like a little bouquet is basically what I was aiming for. And then adhered my leaves. Everything I just adhered with craft tacky glue. And once I get my little cluster in place, I can flip the card over and then just trim off the excess with my scissors. And then, of course, I'm going to add a little bit of splatter, but I'm going to keep it subtle. It arrived the day I was making these cards. This is the Altenew metallic watercolor set. I've had my eye on this set for a while. Did I need it? Not really. I have so many options, but curiosity. So with any metallic watercolor, you need to add water to it and you need to let it sit for a bit and like really work it up with your brush. It's not like regular watercolors where you can just touch it with a wet brush and start painting away and doing your thing. You're good to go. Metallics need a little more effort, basically. So I added a little bit of water. This is they call it sterling silver. To me, I just consider this white, like shimmery white. And I added a bit of water to it, swirled it up really good with my brush. I'd put these in my splat box, and then I added splatter to these. And it's going to be subtle, because that's what I'm going for. You know, these are going to be sympathy cards. I don't want them to be, totally over the top. So I added my bit of splatter. And then for the sentiment, this Hugs wafer die I die cut from white and black cardstock. This is from the Timeless Sentiments die set, another oldie but goodie favorite. And I adhered those together, and then I just popped them into place with little thin foam squares, and that finished off these cards. So I've got 3 cards with these different colors of calla lilies and a bit of ink blending to just add that extra depth and dimension, and then the sentiments from that Treasured Memories set. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I will have links to everything I used in the description box below. So if you just expand the description box, everything will be listed and linked down there, and I'll have a link to my Instagram and all the things. You can check that out below if you're interested. And then as always, thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't. I would love to have you. And I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in supporting me over on Patreon, the link to that is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye.